Hello, in this video I'm going to work through a couple of the problems from practice problem set 3-15. This practice problem set is one in which you're going to need to do deductions on your own and drawing from both the valid argument rules and the equivalence rules. It would be a good idea to review the deduction strategies box, which is right before practice problem set 3-13 in your textbook before starting on 315. And when you're working on 315, maybe if you can, have the deduction strategies in front of you as well as the deduction rules. Let me start with number 2, where we've got 3 unsupported premises and we want to prove S by itself. Here's an example of one where I can think this through backwards. Start by trying to spot the conclusion in the premises. Well, S, the conclusion, is the consequent of the conditional in 3. So if we could get R by itself, we could use R together with R arrow S and the modus ponens rule to get S by itself. So let me think, how can I get R by itself? Well, if I can get Q by itself, looking at number 1 now, if I could get Q by itself, I could use modus ponens to get R by itself. And when I look at number 2, I notice, gee, I can get Q by itself from that. It's Q wedge Q. And the rule called redundancy lets us go from a variable to either a conjunction, where both conjuncts are the same variable, or from a variable to a disjunction, where both disjuncts are the same variable, or in the opposite directions. So here we're applying that in the opposite direction, going from a disjunction that has the same variable as both disjuncts to only one of them by itself. And again, that's the redundancy rule, abbreviated RED. Okay, again, I wanted Q because then I could put that together with number 1 using modus ponens to get R by itself, and I wanted R by itself because then I could put that together with number 3 using modus ponens to get S, the conclusion we were trying to prove all along. All right, I want to move now to number 5. And I'll kind of compare and contrast number 5 and number 2 a little bit. With both number 2 and number 5, I'm starting out by trying to spot the conclusion in the premises. When I did that with number 2, I was able to realize, oh gee, I can use modus ponens as a last step maybe if I could do these certain other things. And I was able to think my way backwards through the whole thing. Here, I'm not so easy to think my way backwards through the whole thing. But I do want to start out by thinking, okay, can I spot the conclusion in the premises? Well, not really. But I see that in premise number 1, I do at least have these variables, and that's the only place I have the variables that appear in the conclusion. So let me see, I can't in one step get P and Q out of that much more compound statement in number 1. But if I can get them closer to each other, maybe that will help me out as I go along. And the exportation rule will let me do that. Exportation, remember, applies to conditionals and ways to move things around within conditionals where you end up changing ampersands as well. So applying exportation to number 1, I get this. And now you see, even though P and Q aren't totally on their own, they're at least together farther away from R and S. How am I going to get P and Q out of number 3? Well, let's think. One way might be to see if we could head towards modus tollens. And we can head in that direction by using addition. the addition rule, remember, lets us take a line, add a wedge, and add anything in the world that we want. And I've added negation sign R because I know that by De Morgan's then, I can change negation sign R wedge negation sign S to the negation of R ampersand S. That's going to let me do modus tollens. Using 3 and 5, because in 3 we've got a conditional, in 5 we've got the negation of that conditional's consequent. That lets us get the negation of the conditional's antecedent. So now I've succeeded in getting P and Q away from every other variable, and that's what we needed for the conclusion. Well, we can finish this up in one step using De Morgan's again. De Morgan's lets us go from the negation of a conjunction to a disjunction, in which each disjunct is a negation of the variables that we had in the negated conjunction before. So here I wasn't able to exactly figure out what the last step would be, unlike with number 2. But I could at least see the way I needed to move was to move towards isolating the variables P and Q that were in the conclusion, and then move from there. All right, I hope this has been helpful to you, and I'll talk to you again soon. Take care. Bye.